After reading Chain of Gold, I was like, where are the people that want to talk about this book?
I'm right here. Hello, welcome back to my channel and welcome to the 7th episode of Taste Test, wherein I test other booktubers' favorite books and see if our tastes align. So in today's video, I am so excited because I'm going to be taste testing Nidhi from nidhireddyreads' favorite books. Nidhi is pretty new here on this platform and I instantly fell in love with her infectious personality and her amazing videos. She already has 1,000 subscribers, which is super exciting, but I would love to see her channel get some more love. So after you check out this video, before you check out this video, go check out Nidhi's channel. I'll link it in the description down below. But I am just so excited for this video. I think me and Nidhi probably have very similar tastes from what I can tell from some of her favorite books. So I don't know, I'm just so excited. Let me briefly show you guys what books I'm going to be reading. I'm not going to do a synopsis this time around for all of the books because I feel like it's a little repetitive when I'm already going to kind of like explain what the book's about as I read. So let me tell you guys 5 books I've selected and then we can just get into the vlog portion of this video. So the first book that I picked for this video is actually not a novel. It is a series of poems and it is The Witch Doesn't Burn, and this one by Amanda Lovelace. I've read something by Amanda Lovelace before, I really enjoyed it, and I decided to pick up poetry because it's kind of outside of my comfort zone. Haven't found a lot of modern poetry that I really love, but Nidhi talks really highly of this. I think she said she like skipped school to read this once, so I don't know, that's like all the convincing I need to pick this book up. The next book, again, is not a novel. I don't know, I'm feeling bold and zesty and I wanted to pick up some non-traditionally formatted books because I tend to just stick to a typical novel and I wanted to switch it up for this video. So I picked up The Complete Persepolis by Marjane Satrapi. I think I'm saying that right. I looked it up before this video, but I am a little bit stupid. So anyway, I am super interested in picking this book up because it's been on my shelves for a while and I just don't tend to pick up the graphic novels or the comics that I have on my shelves. This book, from my knowledge, I know I said I wouldn't do a synopsis, but it is about the Iranian Revolution, so I'm very excited to get to this one. Again, it's memoir. It's a little non-traditional in that it's not a typical novel, something that I normally pick up for my channel. So anyway, the next 3 books are very typical picks for me because I love fiction, I love YA, I love romance, and these all kind of fall into those categories. The first one is Normal People by Sally Rooney. I've heard so many great things about this book. I don't know much except for it's kind of an opposites attract romance, and that's all I need to know to go into this one. I'm excited. I need to see what the buzz is about. I might, during this video, watch the Hulu adaptation. I don't know. We're excited, as you can tell. The next book I'm going to be listening to entirely on audio, and it is The Winter's Curse by Marie Rutkowski, and this one is that typical YA. I don't know if it's dystopian, but I know this is primarily like a romance heavy YA, and I've heard nothing but good things about it. I actually like saw some quotes recently that was kind of making me want to pick this book up, so excited to get to that one. And then of course, I feel like I saved the best and the most exciting book for last, Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. Obviously Nidhi really likes this one. It's the book that inspired this video. It's the book that inspired Nidhi to make a booktube channel, so it's only fitting that we read this book, and I am just super excited to get back into Cassandra Clare's world, especially one that has the parents, not the parents of people that I like, but seeing my faves become parents I think is going to be really exciting. So anyway, I've said it a million times, but I'm so excited to do this taste test. So let's just get into the vlog portion of this video and we can see if Nidhi's tastes align with mine. Okay, I am 50% into The Winter's Curse by Marie Rutkowski. Don't know what to say about this book except for it is not at all what I had expected. I guess just simply looking at this cover, I assumed it was going to be kind of like The Selection, something sort of like lighthearted, heavy on the romance, because I had seen a lot about this on Twitter and some other platforms, people like quoting it and just really emphasizing the romantic appeal of this book. And I'm not saying it's not romance heavy, but it's kind of like dark almost. I would describe this kind of as like The Wrath and the Dawn meets Torch Against the Night, maybe, or An Ember in the Ashes. Yeah, it's the first book, because it has some darkness to it. I'm not sure that I love the world building as much in this book as those other 2 books, but it gives me similar vibes. So this book is about a girl named Kestrel, and she is the daughter of a conqueror, the daughter of a war leader. I don't think he's like in charge, but he's a very well respected war leader, and they have recently conquered this land and have taken the conquered citizens as slaves. One day our main character Kestrel is roaming the markets with one of her friends, and her friend like kind of accidentally takes them into the portion of the city where the slave auctions happen, and as Kestrel is witnessing this, she is very disheartened. And I mean, she has had like slaves in her life. She has one that she actually like freed herself, but I guess she kind of tries to like separate herself from that. But when she is in the presence of the slave auctions happening, she ends up purchasing a man who I believe is like around her age. So the story mostly so far has been Kestrel and the slave named, I think it's Aaron. It's kind of about their relationship, and it's not a romantic relationship yet, but I think we're slowly building to that. I don't have like any super strong opinions and thoughts about this book yet, but I will say I wish this book kind of knew what it was. The feeling of the book is very Ember in the Ashes meets Wrath in the Dawn. It's just the world is not quite there, and I don't think the romantic relationship has really developed in a way that I'm excited about. I mean, I guess I can appreciate the fact that I think it's going to be a slow burn because, I mean, we're 50% into the book and they're not like really feeling romantic feelings for each other, but I don't know. I'm just like, I'm not bored. The writing is really pretty, but it's not something that is like really grabbing my attention. So I can understand why Nidhi likes it. I feel like now that I'm thinking about it, the stuff that I feel like she likes tends to be nicely written. I'm not saying that she's like obsessed with flowery language, but I feel like the things that she tends to enjoy tend to be very beautiful, from what I can tell from her recommendations that I have also read. Curious to see where this goes, curious to see if this romantic relationship develops into something that like I'm excited about, or if it's something that I'm just like about. I don't know. I guess I'm most interested in seeing how dissimilar or similar me and Nidhi's tastes are when it comes to romance, because I think there's going to be romance in at least 3 of these 5 books, and I don't know, from what I've seen on her Goodreads, we don't tend to like line up when it comes to like romantic stories. So I don't know how to feel, but it's not bad so far. I'm gonna finish this up tonight and I will check in with you guys once I have my final thoughts. Okay, so I finished The Winter's Curse. I finished this book like 4 days ago, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I remember very little of what actually transpired in the last like 50% of this book. I think I'm probably gonna give it 2 stars as a result. Initially, after finishing it, I was like, you know what, I think I'm gonna give this 3 stars, but the longer that I kind of sit with my feelings, or I guess lack of feelings about it, I think I'm just gonna give it 2 stars. It was not bad. I can definitely understand why people like it, but I don't think that it accomplished what it set out to do, and that, in my opinion, is a like slow burn romance. I just did not feel any chemistry between these 2 characters the entire time I was reading. I'm just kind of astounded that this is supposed to be some like groundbreaking romance. Maybe it's like a love triangle situation in the next books, and like Aaron is not the like endgame relationship, but I didn't really like Kestrel and Aaron together. I'm just surprised anyone likes them together. I don't know, that sounds bad. I just like, there was nothing there for me. In general, I don't know, I just didn't love the premise of this book. I think having Kestrel be the owner of another person and then not fully realize her complacency and complicity in the situation was a little frustrating. I was hoping that by the end of the book she would feel more rebellious and feel more judgmental of her society, but I just like didn't see any of that in the first book. I just feel like she was at the same place at the beginning of the book that she was at the end. The lack of character development, I don't know. This was just not my favorite. It wasn't bad, and I can understand, because the writing was pretty, why Nidhi liked this, but it wasn't my favorite, and I'm not going to feel too guilty about that because I did start another book and I'm adoring it. I totally understand why Nidhi likes this one. So let's go ahead and talk about the second book that I'm reading for this video, a book that I am 28% into, and that is Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. Where to begin with this book? I have so many thoughts, so many feelings. Also, I'm just in a particularly good mood. It is November 7th and I'm wearing blue, baby, so I'm in a good mood. But let's talk about this book. I will say I initially started this by picking it up and reading it physically, which was not a bad choice per se, but just looking at all of the names on paper got me too bogged down in what the relationships were between everybody. And I really think Cassandra Clare kind of overloaded the cast on this one to a really bloated extent. Like there's too many people in this book, and I think it would be okay if they were all just kind of like listed by name, but no, we have to know that they're like cousins or family friends or enemies. It's a lot to take in, especially in the first literal chapter of this book. You get so much just dumped at you. So I decided to pick up the audio, and that was a really good decision. I am enjoying the experience. I'm both listening and reading at the same time, and it's been really nice. The audiobook narrator is fantastic, so if you were thinking about picking this book up, definitely pick up the audio. It's really, really good. Shadowhunters books in general can be kind of hit or miss when it comes to the audio or renditions, and this one is actually very good, so I would recommend picking it up in that form. But the story is really good. I would say our 2 main characters are Cordelia Carstairs and James Herondale. There's so many other characters at play, but James is the son of Tessa, and he has demonic powers and demonic abilities. He has the ability to go to kind of like other dimensions where demons reside, and this is something that's sort of plaguing him, and he's trying to kind of figure out how to work with these powers. Anyway, he lives in London with a bunch of his friends, and a girl he knew from his childhood, Cordelia Carstairs, comes to London because she is trying to ingratiate herself with London society because her father is in the hands of the Clave. He has like fucked up basically, and he's kind of in jail. He's in Shadowhunter jail, and she's trying to get people on her side so that they might potentially petition the Clave or just generally be on her side, right? So that's kind of her mission. And there's been a long period of peace since the happenings of the Infernal Devices trilogy, but now demons are back in London and Shadowhunters are trying to figure out what they need to do and how the attacks now are differing from the ones that happened in that series. So there's a lot at play, and that's just like the main stuff that's happening. There's a ton of side relationships and machinations and shit that's going on behind the scenes. We also have a character named Lucy who is really cute, James's sister, who is a troublemaker, and she kind of reminds me of like a heroine in a Regency romance. She's got a lot of like quirky attributes and I really like her. We also have Grace, who I really hate, who's annoying, and we don't need to go into detail about her. Yeah, I stopped at a really good point in this book, I think, to tell you guys sort of what it's about. I am just thoroughly enjoying this. I didn't expect it. I mean, I did because I love the Shadowhunters universe. I know Cassandra Clare is like problematic in that not a lot of people like pick up her books now in terms of like getting into her series, but been reading her since I was a freshman in high school, and I really do like her series and the world that she's built. So it feels very comforting, I guess, to revisit it. Infernal Devices was never my favorite series, so I was kind of unsure of how I was going to feel going into this book, but I'm liking it a lot. I think it is a lot more action-packed than the Infernal Devices, which is definitely a good thing because I thought those were sort of boring. So I guess that is one of the good things. Like, there are too many characters on the one hand, but the plot is interesting enough to kind of make up for that. Herondales are as stupid as ever. The characters in these are really fun, and I'm excited to see where things go, especially with the romantic relationships. Everybody has to be paired up. That's just how Cassandra Clare books work. And at the moment, I think we're supposed to be rooting for Cordelia and James to get together, although James is a dumbass and likes this Grace character who, I don't know, she just has like big demon energy. She gave James this necklace for like safekeeping, and I really feel like she's trying to leash him or something. I don't know, I just feel like there's something there. There's definitely something there. She wouldn't just throw that in, right? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm making any sense. This is probably only going to be like a really relevant or interesting thing to hear about if you've read any of these books or if you've particularly read this one, but I'm having a really good time. This is probably going to be like the most jam-packed fucking reading vlog because I am probably going to want to talk in detail about this book. But anyway, I'm rambling at this point. Let me go ahead and read some more of it. I'm going to try to get to the 50% mark before I talk to you again. No promises though, because I'm sure a lot's going to happen. This is an incredibly long book. I'm going to keep reading. I will update you guys as I continue. Okay. I am 51% into this book, and I feel like I left off on the perfect spot. Essentially, James is continuing to be the biggest idiot alive, as I'm sure we're not like surprised at because Herondales are just dumb, right? Things are taking shape now, and I think we're kind of finally getting a little bit more direction in this story. Like, there was definitely action from the beginning, but I don't think we had a very clear expectation of what the story was going to turn into. It's still sort of a mess, but I'm kind of interested in what's happening. They're trying to figure out who these demons are, and in doing so they have come into contact with some warlocks and have gotten themselves into some like sort of interesting situations. So I'm enjoying that component. Also, the relationships between the like 30 and 50% mark have really like ratcheted up. Like, things are complicated, complex, and messy as fuck, and I'm kind of actually enjoying it. I mean, there are too many characters for sure. I still maintain that, but I am actually kind of liking the relationships going on here. So I'm gonna put a spoiler card right here. Again, this whole clip, this whole section, this whole book is going to be filled with spoilers, or at least my reactions to it are, because I feel like I can't really talk about this book without them. James and Grace, I mean, I never rooted for them, and I don't think you're supposed to, but I'm just desperate to know what Grace is. I don't think she's human, or I don't think she's a shadow hunter. I swear to God she's a demon, or she summons demons, or something. She just has a bad energy about her that is super evidenced by the fact that she just kissed James's best friend Matthew, and she compelled him to do it. So I don't really know where that like impulse or power, I guess, came from her. I think it's kind of backing my idea that she is demonic in some way. I wonder if she is like in leagues with James's grandfather, who's a demon. I want to know her backstory and like what her fucking issue is. So that's sort of what literally just happened. She just kissed Matthew in the like last page before I decided to film a clip for this. I am loving the other relationships that are happening. I like that we're finally getting, I like Matthew a lot. I think he's a complex character. Like, Herondale's are great, don't get me wrong. I like James. He's just too similar to Will to me. He doesn't have enough like complexity in my opinion, besides having literally 2 brain cells. I really like Matthew because he's like troubled and I like that. He's a little bit of an alcoholic, which is interesting. I've never seen that sort of thing in a Shadowhunters novel, but I like that he has a thing for Lucy Herondale. I like that that's probably going to be like a cute like brother's best friend kind of childhood friends to lovers romance, hopefully. I like that. That's cute. I don't know, it's like I'm not anti Cordelia. I'm never super into the main romances. I feel that's actually a lie. What am I fucking talking about? I like the main romances usually. The only like main romance I haven't liked in the Shadowhunters universe is Will and Tessa. So I guess that doesn't completely like illegitimize my disdain or like unenjoyment of the 2 of them together in this book. James and Cordelia. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I just want to know. I forgot. We found out that Alistair, Cordelia's brother, is gay or at least bisexual. I think he's gay though. Actually, no, he definitely is gay. I don't know what I'm talking about because he said that he would never marry a woman to like cover up his gayness, I guess, unlike his lover Charles. So that's fascinating. And there's been a lot of like upheaval in relationships. So Charles is in politics and he was going to marry Ariadne, who's a lesbian, but he isn't going to marry Ariadne anymore. He's going to marry Grace, and that is like a whole thing. R.I.P. James. He's upset that Grace isn't going to be with him. But also, okay, I'm so all over the place with this. So sorry. James is... I keep saying he's an idiot, but I don't think I'm really expanding upon that. The reason James is so stupid is because he keeps getting like pulled in and sucked in by Grace, who's obviously some sort of fucking demon. He keeps talking about how he feels this like other pull towards Cordelia, and it's like, yes, because that's what you're supposed to like what? It's not even late. I don't even have that excuse as to why I am not being very coherent, but lots of thoughts, most of them good. This is entertaining. But I think this is probably where I'm going to leave off tonight. I think once I get to the 75% mark, I'm going to update again. I could update at 100%, but like, I don't want to. I want to keep talking about this book. So I've hit the 75% mark in this book, and why? Do you want to talk about the book with me? The one thing that I feel like I can confidently say is that Cassandra Clare, in her time in writing fanfiction, definitely knows how to write a good kiss. The consummation kiss between James and Cordelia was really good. I kind of forgot how much I get invested in Cassandra Clare relationships. Like I said, I wasn't really like super on board with James and Cordelia, but I'm kind of liking them a lot. And I don't know, they're kind of cute now. I don't know, am I changing my mind? I think I'm changing my mind. I do like them. I think they're cute. Are they like my favorite Shadowhunters couple? No, but I do think they're cute, so thought I'd point that out. One thing that I was thinking about as I was reading this, and as I was just sort of thinking about the Shadowhunters universe, was the differences, I guess, between Cassandra Clare's writing and some other authors, and that sounds like super vague. Once authors have such an established fan base and they've written so many books, it seems to me like a lot of them, they're no longer held to the same standards that other authors are in terms of editing and the process that the book goes through before it's being published. Like reading Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas, while it wasn't like a terrible book, you could tell that it was not edited as a normal book would be. It was very info dumpy, and it wasn't the worst thing I'd ever read, but you can tell that she has garnered enough of a fan base to where publishers just kind of let her write whatever. And I will say I really do admire the fact that Cassandra Clare, while this is a little bit indulgent, she kind of sticks to a decently tight plot. I don't know. I don't even know if the plot is really that tight in this book, but there's action from day one. You can tell that she's at least trying to have each character grow and or learn something in her books. It feels like there's a point, which is good. I know I was kind of saying that I didn't know where the book was going a few clips ago, but I feel like it's becoming more clear what she's setting out to do with the series and with this book in particular, and I'm appreciating it. So hats off to Cassie Clare for, even though she is a little indulgent, still at least attempting to tell a story that is entertaining for people who have and have not read her books before. I think you could go into this and still be entertained even if you hadn't read any other books by her. So that's just how I feel. You might feel completely differently. I'd actually like to know in the comments down below if you feel that way about this book, if you've read it, but I really am feeling satisfied. Any interesting developments that I can remark upon? I really do want to know more about Grace and what her deal is. I think she's actually maybe not a demon, but I think her mom might be in leagues with demons, and maybe that's why she is so hell-bent on like getting married to someone and protecting herself. I wish James wasn't so much of a fucking dumbass. I wish that he would just understand that his feelings for Cordelia are the real feelings, and that Grace was just like had him under some sort of spell. I really feel like that was the case. I really want to find out more about Matthew though. I think that's kind of been my resounding like in the back of my head. Can we get some more of him? He's like the most interesting character to me thus far. At this point I'm rambling again, as I knew that I would, but I'm gonna go ahead and finish this up and I'll give you my final thoughts on how everything kind of goes. Ooh, maybe I should give some predictions. I think we're gonna find out why Grace is being secretive. I think that James and Cordelia's relationship is going to be left on some sort of cliffhanger. It's not going to be official. I think maybe like James and Grace are gonna get married or something. Like something is gonna kind of separate James and Cordelia. I think Matthew is going to have stronger feelings towards Lucy. I think there's going to be something there. I think someone's going to die that has not died already. So those are my predictions. We'll see if any of those come true. I probably won't even remember any of my predictions, so. I needed some time to process. It's been about a day since I finished this book, and I didn't know how I was going to rate it because while I really enjoyed it, definitely wasn't a perfect read. It's not like a favorite book of this year or anything, but I think honestly I was overthinking it because I did get a book hangover after finishing this, and I'm like desperate for the next book. So I think for me it's a 5-star read. It's not perfect, no Shadowhunters book ever is, but they just have this nostalgic place in my heart, and I think even if I was like looking at it objectively, this would be a 4-star read because she's just a good writer and it was just a good story. So I really enjoyed this. It's 5-star for me, and I thought we could kind of discuss some of my predictions and if they came true. Some of them I think it's funny how like wrong or like backwards I got things. So anyway, the first thing that I asserted was that we were gonna find out why Grace is so secretive, which we definitely did. I think I left out a lot of things as I was talking about this book and the complicated nature of it. So essentially Grace is secretive because her mom is trying to bring her dead brother back to life, and to do this she has to get in leagues with demons. Well, the demon that they try to get in leagues with, both Grace and Grace's mom, this demon is James's grandfather, who's been kind of bothering him this entire book, and his grandfather is who has been sending demons to London. So pretty much everything is James's fault. And Grace comes into play because she is in charge of getting James to kind of give up his free will. So he's been wearing this bracelet which has tied him to Grace for like years, and he is tied to her. He thinks he's in love with her, and at one point he gives the bracelet back to Grace because he's like, I want nothing to do with you anymore. He gets angry at her, and during this time period is when he has his kiss with Cordelia, figures out his feelings for her, and his feelings for Grace seem very fuzzy to him. So it's pretty clear that this bracelet has some sort of like powers imbued in it to make him indentured or like connected to Grace. And we find out the reason that Grace gave him this bracelet is because it gives up his free will in general. So essentially if he's wearing this bracelet, then he can be taken control of, and the grandfather, the demon daddy, he's trying to inhabit James's body. And when they have like their run-in at the end of the book, James isn't wearing the bracelet, so he can't become inhabited, but then Grace gives him the bracelet after the events of the book and is like, here you go, because she's trying to do whatever she can to get her brother back. And I have no idea how demon inhabiting James's body is going to somehow bring Grace's brother back, but anyway, that's apparently a thing. So Grace is not a demon, she's just in leagues with demons. Next, I said I think that Cordelia and James's relationship would end on a cliffhanger, and that I thought that James and Grace would be married, and I got that wrong. Cordelia and James are going to be married because of a lot of complicated shit that happens again at the end of the book that I didn't talk about. Cordelia, essentially to protect James, claims that she was with him all night, which is scandalous and not something you can do in like ye olden day society. So to kind of cover up for her, for covering up for him, James says that he's gonna marry Cordelia, and it's just gonna be a 1-year marriage to kind of salvage her relationship, and they don't have to be romantic is what he says. Even though Cordelia is very much in love with him, he's like, it's fine, I'm just doing this to protect you. And since he has the bracelet back on, he doesn't really know what he thinks, and he thinks he's still in love with Grace. It's a whole mess. That's sort of the cliffhanger the relationship ends with. Like, they're going to get married and Cordelia is very much in love with him, and we're just like, James, take the bracelet off. I also said Matthew would have stronger feelings towards Lucy. Now, that's incorrect, and I'm honestly just so confused about Matthew. Let me know in the comments down below if I'm just stupid, which I absolutely am, so please let me know. I don't really know who he likes. He was watching James and Cordelia dance at their engagement party, and he looked at them longingly. Who he's looking at longingly, I don't know. I think it's supposed to be Cordelia. Could it be James? I don't know. I don't think so, because I didn't really see any like romantic inclinations there, but you know, everybody's a little bit gay in this book. Literally everybody is a little bit gay in this book, so who knows who Matthew's really into. He also kind of has a thing for Lucy, but I think it was also mentioned at the end of the book that he doesn't have feelings for Lucy anymore. I don't really know. I don't know what to believe, but that's a thing. I am just very curious to find out more about his feelings because he's an interesting character. And then I said someone is going to die who has not died already, and it's funny because the person that did die was dead already. So Jesse Blackthorne, is that his last name? Jesse, Grace's brother, was already dead, but he was a ghost who could potentially re-inhabit his body at some point. He gives his final breath to James for Lucy because Jesse and Lucy were hanging out. and could see each other. Good God, my brain is scrambled after talking about all of these things. I don't know what's gonna happen. It left off again on a cliffhanger. Tatiana, Grace's mom, we get the final scene of like her getting in leagues with the demon grandfather, and we kind of understand her point. And there's just some other things that happened that are going to unfurl in the next book that are going to make things even more messy and complicated. And it's honestly surprising that I can even comprehend any of these things because it was sort of convoluted and there was a lot going on. But I guess that's a testament to Cassie's writing that I kind of understand things. So 5 stars. Enjoyed this. I definitely understand why Nidhi likes this. I need to go back and watch the videos that she talks about this book in because her enthusiasm is really what made me want to pick this book up. I just can't remember the specifics as to why she liked this. She says that she likes James, but James is stupid, so not really understanding it. But this was really fun, and this was a really fun reading experience because I got to DM Nidhi as I was reading this and kind of like chat. I've never done that before in previous taste tests because they're usually like a surprise. This one isn't, and so I got to like actually talk to her about this as I read it, which was so fun. So I am ready, however, to move on to The Witch Doesn't Burn in this one. It's on my bookshelf over there and I don't want to go get it, but that's what we're going to start in on next. Don't know anything about it, and to be honest, I think what I'm just going to do is read that and then let you guys know how I felt about it afterwards. A, to save on time, and B, because it's poetry, it's quick. So I will get back to you guys once I finish that. Okay, the lighting's really bad, but you can see my Christmas decor behind us. Anyway, I finished The Witch Doesn't Burn in this one by Amanda Lovelace, and I'm sure much to no one's surprise, this was not a favorite of mine for this reading experience vlog, whatever. It wasn't bad. I actually really appreciate what this collection of poetry did. It just wasn't something that I personally related to, and I think when it comes to modern poetry tends to be mostly devoid of metaphor and imagery. So I feel like you have to relate even more to the poetry you're reading when it's a modern poetry collection as opposed to something like really lyrical and lush that's just like meant to be appreciated for what it is. Does that make sense? I don't know. What I'm trying to say is, I think if you are looking for the themes in this poetry collection, if you need the themes that are in this collection, I think this is really a powerful collection. Let me tell you what it's about, I guess. So this poetry collection is about the experiences of woman and womanhood and fighting against the powers that be, right? This deals heavily with topics of sexual assault, with misogyny, with eating disorders, and feeling inadequate. I think this is a really powerful collection of poetry. If you are dealing with any of those things, if you have felt less than because of your gender, or if you've just experienced any of the things that I have just talked about and you like to work through the things you've been through with poetry. Obviously, if those triggers are something you don't want to read about, don't pick this poetry collection up because it can be triggering, but I think it was very well done. I liked the way that it was pulled together thematically. I liked the 3 parts. It was like burning, ashes, I don't know, there were like 3 sections and it all kind of worked together. That being said, it didn't really work for me because I just don't feel like this is something I'm struggling with currently or really struggling with ever. That sounds bad, but I'm really lucky to say that the relationships in my life have not resulted in the kinds of things that happen in this book. I don't know. I just didn't really relate to much of it. That's not to say that being a woman's easy. I'm just really lucky that the relationships and the problematic elements in this poetry collection are not something I can relate to. In that way, it didn't really work for me, and that's not to say that like you have to have gone through really hard things to relate to this poetry collection. Just for me, there wasn't a whole lot that I gained from this, I guess, or that really felt super empowering to me. Editing Chan here, I feel like I did not get my point across very well. What I was trying to say is that for most books, it really doesn't matter if a book is relatable for me to enjoy it or appreciate it. When it comes to something like modern poetry, I just feel like it's a little bit different. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe you guys feel the same way, but I feel like with modern poetry collections, anytime I see like a poem from one of them, I kind of view it through the lens of something almost like a horoscope or a motivational quote. It's something that only really works if it's like relatable. Whereas if I'm reading something that is, fiction, prose, I don't know, I don't feel like I need to actually relate to the character or relate to the experiences of the character to sympathize and to get something from the story. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense. That being said, I would not hesitate to recommend this to the women in my life who I feel like, I don't want to say could use this, but who like this sort of thing or who could be helped by something like this. I think this would be especially impactful for women in high school who have to deal with shitty boys, Again, it's not like I've never been through shitty situations or I've never dealt with really stupid boys, but presently I have a really cool dad and a really cool fiance, and I don't have to deal with shitty men most of the time. So this, I don't know, it was just kind of like, it's good, but it wasn't everything to me. I'm not gonna rate it because I don't really like rating people's experiences. I think that's kind of weird. I don't rate nonfiction either, so I'm not gonna rate this poetry collection. I will say I did like the first collection better from this author, primarily because I could relate to it more. The way that she does modern poetry is pretty great, and I prefer it to Ruby Kaur's, or Carr, I don't know how to say her last name, Milk and Honey Lady. I prefer this to that, so take of that what you will. I did think this was good for what it is. So anyway, I only have 2 more books to read, you guys, for this vlog, which is wild to me. So is this hair. This hair is wild to me. But we have Persepolis and we have Normal People, and I don't know which I want to read next. I think I'm gonna do Persepolis and save Normal People until the end, so that way I can make you guys really wait for my opinion on this book, because I know so many people, probably 2 of you, that are excited to see how I feel about this book. I'm excited to see how I feel about this book because I really want to read. I cannot talk today. I really want to watch the Hulu series, so I think I'm going to start on Persepolis first, and I'm going from one kind of like depressing thing to probably another, but excited to finally get to this. I got this a while ago from Half Price Books, and I've heard nothing but good things, so I'm excited to start this. It's about the Iranian Revolution, so I'm going to get about probably halfway and then let you guys know how I feel, because this is a comic, so it's not going to take me too long to get through, but it's longer than the poetry collection, so I want to keep you abreast of my feelings. I'm not 50% into this yet, but I just thought I would pop in and say that this is so good. I didn't know what to expect. I have not had the best luck with graphic novels in the past. There have been some that I've absolutely loved, but for the most part, I just don't find them as effective for me at telling a story and getting me to really feel something. But already I'm only like 30 pages into this, and I think it's so good, and it's already taught me so much that I literally didn't know. I feel like our school system really doesn't tell us enough about things that happen in countries that aren't in Europe, and so this is super good. And I like that it is from the perspective of someone who actually lived through this stuff. I feel like reading just like a dry history book is not the way that I like to consume historical type information anymore. If you didn't know, I was a history major in college, and while I love history, I think it's great, I am kind of burnt out on a lot of like historical and nonfiction texts, and this is just really good because, like I said, it's got the perspective of someone who was young growing up during this time, so this is really good. I didn't know a lot of the stuff in here, and I'm having an enjoyable time reading this. I'm sure it's going to get sad. It's already a little bit sad, but yeah, super good. I'm gonna keep reading. I'll update you guys when I'm like 50% in. Okay, this lighting is terrible, but we're just gonna ignore that because I finished Persepolis. I say I finished it. I mean, I did finish it, but it was like 2 weeks ago, so I'm not sure how articulate and valuable my thoughts are gonna be 2 weeks later, but I really enjoyed this book, as I was saying in the last clip. And while again, I'm not going to rate this book because it is someone's life experiences, I think this would be a 4 or a 5, like, if I did rate it, because it was just so good, and it was a lot different than I expected. Since this is about revolutionary Iran, I just expected this to be pretty sad, or at least pretty somber, but I think it was kind of dumb of me to expect that, because this is the story of someone who was living during that time. Not all of that experience is sad, right? Like, we get slice of life moments that honestly, some of them made me laugh. Yeah, I don't know how to like fully put into words the tone of this, but it was informative, it was educational, and yet it was so good because it was from someone who experienced it, right? It was good. Oh god, I'm kind of at a loss for words. I think if you are someone who likes reading about history, even if you don't like reading about history, I think you should pick this up. I thought it was really excellent. I mean, it's won awards, and there is a like movie made out of this, so it stands to reason that it's pretty damn good. But yeah, I thought this was really excellent, and while this is something that I already owned, I don't think it's something that I would have necessarily picked up quickly. I tend to avoid things that I consider to be hard hitting because, to be honest, I'm just a lazy reader. I like stuff that's fluffy and easy to get through, and honestly, despite like this not being super long, it did take me a little while to get through because, you know, there were some sad moments and I wanted to fully consume everything and like fully understand what was going on. There were a couple of times actually where I looked things up that happened in this book, not like our author's experiences, but things pertaining to the revolution. So yeah, it made me kind of hungry to know more about the situation, and I don't know what else to say except for this is really excellent, and I can totally understand why Nidhi enjoyed this. I'm definitely glad that I picked this one up, so go out and pick this up if you have not already. Pick it up from your library, go support the author and like buy it, whatever you want to do. I don't know why I'm in like such a weird talking mood. I feel like my words are not coming out like I want them to. It is a little late though. But now we can move on to, let me go grab it, Normal People by Sally Rooney. I don't know, I'm like kind of scared to pick this up. It's the last book, but I'm scared. Fingers crossed that I like this. I don't know. I don't really have the highest of hopes just because of the kind of reader that I am, but I hope I like this.
I feel like this book should be called People Who Can't Communicate, because that's really all that I'm getting from this. I am 125 pages into this book, so about like halfway. Let me tell you, the quotation marks, or lack thereof I should say, has been frustrating. Overall, I think the writing style of this is really what stood out to me first. It is very cut and dry. There's not a lot of embellishment to the writing, and I think that was a very purposeful choice by the author. Was it a choice I would have made? No. Is it effective at telling the story? I think yes. I think there's a definite tone to this because of the way that it's written. I think she is accomplishing what she set out to do. That being said, I don't really know that this has a lot to say, and I know that a lot of you guys are going to disagree. Here's the thing, here's my issue with like literary fiction and just general fiction in the adult category. I feel like a lot of it is trying really hard to say something and it just ends up not saying anything at all. Maybe I am just too dumb to comprehend the subtlety of the message that this is trying to send, but really all that I'm getting is that these two people don't know how to communicate and they both just use each other for various reasons, and I hate that. I really do. I mean, I guess you could call it realistic, but what is the message that this is trying to send? I have no idea. I really wish I knew, but I don't know. Beyond just people are kind of shitty and that's life, I don't know. I guess the older I get, the less cynical I get. I feel like I would have enjoyed the fuck out of this in high school, which is not to knock the fact that like, I think Nidhi is like 16 or 17. So I guess it kind of makes sense now. I was a lot more cynical when I was young about love and about what it would mean. And yes, I've been incredibly lucky to have someone who actually treats me well, and I have been with that person basically my entire adult life. But you can also set boundaries for yourself, and neither of these characters set boundaries or try to fix any of the issues that are occurring in their relationship, and it's frustrating. I haven't even said what the book's about. Let me try to say that, and then maybe I can, I don't know, glean something from that. But this book is about two characters, Marianne and Connell, and they both kind of grow up going to high school together. He is popular but quiet, and he kind of just lets everybody make his decisions for him. And Marianne is a loner. She's very unpopular, and people are really rude to her. She is kind of a bitch, so I mean, there's that. So kind of relatable. I feel like I related to that a little bit. I was a little bit lonery in high school as well. Essentially, they start having sex, but he says that they can't tell anyone in school because he doesn't want to face being unpopular, and he also doesn't really know what he wants from life. He kind of eventually figures out what kind of degree he wants to get because Marianne kind of helps him figure that out. They go to college, and they kind of have an off and on again relationship. I mean, that's kind of all I'm getting from this in the 50% mark, but I would bet that their hookup relationship continues on until the end of this book when they decide to go their separate ways. I'm assuming that's what's gonna happen. I mean, I don't think that's really spoiling anything. I think that's just what this book is. I don't know. I'm so torn because I'm not hating it. I don't think it's a horrible story or anything, but I did pick up the Hulu adaptation and it's much better than this. I think part of it's because it is, I mean, it's very true to the story, but I don't have to like try to read a book that doesn't have quotation marks. I can just like visually watch what's going on. Also, the characters in the show have such good chemistry that like, or I guess actors in the show have such good chemistry that it's entertaining to watch. I think if I were to give a recommendation, it would be to just watch the show instead of read the book. They're so similar that I don't think you're missing out if you don't read the book. And in a lot of ways, I think you're kind of saving yourself from the perhaps boredom. I don't know. I'm not doing a very good job at, I think, expressing my feelings. I have such mixed feelings about this. It's not terrible. I don't think it knows what it wants to do. And ultimately what I'm trying to say, I think, is that life can be good. And I know people have trauma and I know people have shit that they have to work through. I'm not trying to say that life is amazing and perfect all the time, but I am saying that you can have successful romantic relationships and not let people walk all over you. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a romantic, I guess. I want to read a romance, and I know that this is not a romance and it's not going to end romantically, but I don't know. I knew this book was gonna go one of two ways. Like, I knew I would either love this or hate this, so I guess I'm not gutted or anything, but I guess we'll see. You know what I'm gonna do? I am going to take my time. I'm going to finish this book and I'm gonna watch the rest of the Hulu adaptation, and I'll give you guys my like official thoughts on the adaptation and this, and just like let you know how I feel. This video is gonna be so long. Okay, anyway. I'm gonna go suffer through this. Bye. Okay, so I decided to DNF this book. I feel bad about it. I don't know is this the first time that I DNF'd a book in one of these videos? I feel like it is. I don't feel that bad about it though, because I got to like talk to Nidhi about it, and I did end up watching the entire Hulu like limited series, and I feel like that was a much better way to consume the story. I don't think I was able to really convey why I like the show better than the book. I think for me, the importance of the story, or the let's be honest, nothing about the story is really important, but the impact of the story I think can be felt better when you get to see the interaction of characters on a screen. The performances by the two actors were fantastic. fantastic. Especially, God, I wish I knew his name, but the male actor who played Connell, there were times when I was watching his monologues and I was just like, I could feel it, you know what I mean? Like, he did not feel like acting, and it felt so like painful and kind of hard to watch at times because he was so real. Very, very good. If you just kind of want to be melancholy and watch something a little sad, I'd recommend the limited series. I don't think that there was much of like a lesson or a point to the story, and I guess there doesn't have to be, right? But I don't know, usually when there are really kind of sad and depressing books, I like to kind of gain something from it almost, and I don't feel that I really gained anything from reading or watching the show. That sounds bad, but honestly, like, my takeaway is just people don't know how to communicate, and that's sad. I do like the way that it ended though. I felt like it was appropriate for the story. I felt like it made sense, and I think if you're kind of a romantic, you won't actually hate the ending, but this just was not for me, and that's okay. That's it. This is the last book that I read for this video. I think honestly I'm gonna give this away. I know a lot of people like this book, and I don't know how like easy it is to get your hands on a hardcover, so if you guys like want to enter to win this, just put your Instagram handle down in the YouTube comments and I will select a winner after like a week of this being posted. US only though. But let's go ahead and wrap this taste test up. Overall, I feel like I had a really good time reading Nidhi's faves. This whole experience was completely different than any other taste test I've done. I actually got to ask Nidhi what her favorites were. That was another thing that I wish I had done in other, I guess, taste tests. I just kind of went through people's old favorites videos to do those and kind of selected their favorites that way. But this was nice because I got Nidhi's, like, you know, true favorites. She got to tell me what they were, and I got to talk to her while I read them, which was so fun and something I'm really looking forward to in future taste tests. But overall, this was a really fun experience and I just loved it, honestly. I don't know how else to say it, but like, this was just fun. While all the books were like not perfect for me, it was a great experience. So let me tell you guys briefly, like, wrap it all up. I've been filming this video since October and it is like January, so I've kind of forgotten my feelings about some of the books, so hopefully this wrap up is helpful in some way to you as well. So the first book that I read was The Winter's Curse by Marie Rutkowski, and I didn't really like this book. I give it 2 stars. I guess it just wasn't what I was expecting. I think most of my low-rated books over the past year or so have been me going into a book with a certain expectation and that expectation just like not really being met. This I just thought was going to be kind of like a slow burn, silly YA romance, and that's not really what this was. And I think our heroine was both boring and irritating at the same time, so it just like was not really the perfect story for me. The next book that I read was Chain of Gold. I loved this, gave it 5 stars, and honestly I'm just excited for the next book. I don't think there's been a Cassandra Clare book that I've absolutely hated, so I kind of expected to like this one, but I ended up liking it more than I thought that I would, and it kind of makes me want to go back and read all of her backlist and like do videos on them, so that might be something that I do this year. Who knows? We shall see. The next book that I read was The Witch Doesn't Burn in this one, and it was fine. It wasn't really something that I gained a whole lot from, but it definitely was not bad, and I think if the themes in this are something that you want to explore more, or you just really like relatable poetry, this might be for you, but obviously like trigger warning for sexual assault and like talk of assault. The next book that I read was Persepolis. This was really fantastic. If there's one book that I think you should read from this whole video, it should be this one. It was so good, so informational about history that we really do not explore much in the US. Like, let's be honest, the only history that we ever really explore is European history. So it was interesting to see kind of a more like modern historical take from someone who actually like lived during that time. Not that she's dead now, wow. But yeah, it was interesting to see recent history and see it from the eyes of someone growing up during that time. This was really good. Highly recommend. And then lastly, Normal People. I already talked about this. I'm not gonna like go into any more detail really, but this was sort of a letdown. I really had mixed feelings going into it. I was like sure that I was going to love it or hate it, and honestly I just kind of feel meh about the whole experience. Definitely not something that's super memorable, and I totally understand why Nidhi likes it, I will say. But it just like, it didn't do it for me. So that is it. That is the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like I said, I had such a good time doing this. Go subscribe to Nidhi if you're not subscribed to her already. I have been watching her since like she first started making videos, and they are just so fun. She's like so full of joy. I love watching her videos. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching, and until next Sunday.